So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing the Indian Express newspaper. So let's start our discussion. So here today we will be covering these important topics over here, that is Panchayat Devolution Index 2024. We will be talking about this index, we will be seeing what are the outcomes, or you can say what kind of you can say the details which this particular index is talking about. So we will be seeing that, and after that we will be looking at the ex gratia payments. So we will be talking about this, what this term means, and then why it was in news. You must have heard about this stampede at New Delhi railway station, and because of which this term has been in the news. So we will be talking about that. Then moving further, HIV self-testing. Herein we will be talking about a kit which has been developed recently and that has been used in Mizoram. Okay, when we talk about India, most of the HIV cases are found in, maximum number of HIV cases are found in Mizoram. So we will be talking about that, and then for your own read, there will be one article and we will be going for the practice question. And in the starting, we will be talking about the PYQ of the day as usual, and then there will be geography through maps over here. Okay, so let's start our discussion. So first PYQ of the day here, with reference to the sectors of Indian economy, consider the following pairs. Economic activities are given and then the sector is given in front of you. Storage of agricultural produce. Now when we talk about the storage of the agricultural produce, that is an activity which is a primary activity. Okay, so that is one thing. Dairy farm, that is a primary activity, because when we talk about agriculture and allied activities, now these agriculture and the allied activities are basically your primary sector. Okay, so that is there. Along with that, one more thing which is there, that is basically your mineral exploration. Why? Because you are basically going for exploration of the raw material. Okay, whatever is there which is basically considered as a raw material for the secondary sector, that comes under the primary sector. So when we talk about the mineral exploration, that is also basically your, you can say, primary sector. Okay, so second is correct, third is wrong, first is wrong. Coming to the next one, weaving clothes, that is your secondary sector, that is right, because when we talk about the weaving cloth, that means that you are already having the raw material, that is your cotton or any kind of fiber which is there, and then you are weaving it. So basically that is processing of the raw material, that is the secondary sector. Okay, so here only two pairs are correct, that is 2 and 4. So we can say option B would be your right answer over here. Explanation is given here. We don't need to go through this, but just know that storage of agricultural produce is placed under the tertiary or the service sector in the Indian economy. Okay, so over here that is basically when we talk about the first one pair. So okay, fine, there we will be, yeah, they have talked about the, you can say, secondary sector over here, but that means that it is there in the tertiary sector. Why? Because it is a kind of a service. When we talk about the agriculture and the allied sector, which is basically producing the natural resources. Okay, be it your crops, be it your minerals, etc. These are basically your primary sector, which is producing the raw material. Okay, now when we talk about the storage is basically a service. Okay, so that is under the tertiary sector. Okay, so not secondary but tertiary. So again, if you are having any confusion, you can see. Otherwise also, if you go through this logic also, then also you can, reach to the correct answer. But the thing is, when we talk about the storage, that is a you can say third tertiary sector. When we talk about the cold storage, etc., these are your tertiary sectors. Okay, so don't, you can say, confused with the primary sector over here. So that was a mistake. Anyways, so that is there. Coming to the next part, that is dairy comes under the primary sector. We have already seen, because the agriculture and the allied activities are basically under the primary sector. Mineral exploration is primary sector in Indian economy. The primary sector includes extraction of raw material and the agriculture and the allied activities. Coming to the next one, weaving of cloth, that is your secondary sector, which we have already seen. Now coming to the next one, that is geography through map. Now in this map, there are various ocean currents which has been talked about. Now what is ocean current? When we look at the ocean water, the surface water of the ocean, okay, along with the whatever winds we have, like easterlies, westerlies, trade winds, whichever we are having in the different section of the you can say earth over here, you know that when we talk about the equator, we will be having different winds over here. Then when we come to the subtropical region, there will be different kind of direction in the wind. So now considering that particular direction, the ocean water also start to move. Okay, so that is one thing. Other than that, there is also another kind of a movement which is there, that is kind of the below the surface movement which are there. These are thermohaline circulations which are there. Okay, that is a different story, but we are talking about the surface ocean currents over here, which are basically impacted by the wind directions. Okay, so let's say there is a still water, okay, and wind is moving in a particular direction. So with the when the wind is coming in the contact with the surface water, they will be moving the surface water as well. Now considering that, various ocean currents are forming. Now there are two different kind of ocean currents which is there. One is your warm current, second is your cold current. Okay, now if you look at this particular picture over here, there are few which are given in the, you can say, blue arrow. These are your cold currents. When we talk about the second one, the red one, these are your warm currents. Okay, so that is there. Now let's see. If you see this particular portion, that is equator. When we talk about the equator and the winds which are moving from the equator, or you can say the currents which are moving from the equator, so from equator to the poles, if they are going, that means that it will mostly be a warm current. Okay, why? Because equator has the more insolation, and because of its surface temperature is high, and that is why that you can say the ocean currents are, hot water is moving towards the cold areas. That is why it is a hot current. Okay, so when we talk about the Gulf Stream, which is around America, you will be seeing that is a hot water stream which is there. And now if you look at the from the poles, if something is coming towards the equator or the subtropical region or the tropical region, you will be seeing that the currents like Labrador or the currents like the Greenland current, these are basically your cold currents because they are coming from the poles. Okay, now if you can see here, Norwegian current is moving from over here this direction to the northern pole, and that is why we are saying that it is relatively warmer current. Okay, so that is there. Now if you come to this particular part, this is Canary current, which is coming from north towards south, and that is why it is a cold current. Okay, so that is there. When we talk about the equator, there are various currents which is there, that is your equatorial counters or north equator current. Now this is a current, let's say the water, basically water is going through a circulation, water is moving in this direction over here in the form of your equatorial current, sorry, water is moving in this particular direction in the form of the north equatorial current. Okay, and then whenever water is actually increasing, or the quantity of water or the concentration of water is increasing over here, it will start to move in the other direction. Okay, so that will be the your equatorial counter current. Okay, so that is a simple logic which is there. If you look at this Agulhas current over here, Agulhas is originating from the near equator and moving towards the south pole, and that is why it is a warm current. Coming to the next one, Mozambique, if we talk about, that is also starting near somewhere near the equator and moving towards the south pole, that is why it is a warm current. Okay, if you come to this area, that is your Brazilian current. So Brazilian current is also starting near somewhere equator and going towards the south pole, that is a warm current. If you look at this Benguela current, this is starting from the pole and moving towards the equator, that is basically temperature is high over the equator and temperature is low at the poles, so it is a cold current. Okay, so that is how these cold current and the, you can say, hot currents are there. I will just recite the names of some cold currents over here. California current, that is near USA, then Labrador, East Greenland, Canary current, Peru current. Okay, that when we talk about the Peru current, you must have heard about the El Nino, La Nina, so that will be playing a very important role over here. Then Benguela current over here, Western Australian current over here, these are Oyashio. These are some of the cold currents. Now coming to the warm currents, here you can see Alaska current, that is there, Alaska, then Gulf Stream, Norwegian, Brazil, Agulhas, Mozambique, and if you look at this Eastern Australian current and the Kuroshio. When we talk about the Kuroshio and Oyashio, these are two currents. These are basically counter to each other. So Oyashio is basically a cold current which is coming from the northern direction, and the Kuroshio is basically your warm current which is coming from the southern direction towards the north. So these are some of the currents which you should remember. UPSC has asked question about these currents earlier in the examination, so they might ask you again as well. Okay. Now let's move further. Before that, I would like to tell you that Drishti IAS is offering you ISGS Foundation course for prelims as well as mains. Course will be available in the offline format at our new center, that is Noida Sector 15. For English medium and the Hindi medium, admissions are open. You can directly visit the center and get yourself enrolled, or you can call this number, that is 87501 for any kind of detail which is related to the course, or otherwise also when we talk about the other packages from the Drishti IAS, like your test series or any other online courses which are there, you can call on this particular number. Anyways, starting with the first one, that is what a government study reveals about the state of our Panchayat. Now when we talk about the Panchayat, technically we should know about certain things, that is the 73rd Constitution Amendment Act 1973. Okay, so that is there. Now when we talk about the 1993. Okay, So that is there. When we talk about the different aspects of the municipalities, etc., these should be certain things which you should know. Other than that, there are various committee, okay, like Singhvi committees, there are Ashok Mehta committees, there are all these committees which are there, which you should know about. Okay, that is also something which is from the static and you should know about. So we will not be going into details of that. Other than that, from your exams point of view, you should know about the parts and the schedule where or the articles where panchayats and the municipalities are given, or specifically speaking where they are talking about the 3-tier structure. All these things you should know. Okay, other than that, financial devolution, what are the issues with the panchayat, these things you should be knowing by now. Now coming to this particular report over here, so let's see. Set in the fictional village of Fulera, the story of the popular web series Panchayat unfolds. The protagonist, born and brought up in the city, heads there to run a panchayat and faces the hurdles over there. Now, this is some kind of web series which is there, but that is not our concern. The thing is, in that they have shown the village life, they have shown the issues which are there in the panchayats. Okay, financial devolution related issues are there, how funds are not coming, such kind of issues there. There is another issue, that is Pradhan Pati. There is this issue of Pradhan Pati. When we talk about the woman's representation over there, so women are absent in the administration and their husbands are actually taking over the jobs over there. So that is the concept of Pradhan Pati, which is quite prominent in the areas of Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc. So that is also one of the issue which is there. So considering that, the index 2024 that Union Ministry of Panchayat Raj has published based on the study of the Indian Institute of Public Administration. So this is the institution that has gone for the study and then the ministry has published it. Okay, we have a Ministry of Panchayat Raj separately, so that is also there. These are some of the parameters which we will be discussing. Let's look at the findings of the report. Okay, now top ranking state if we talk about, so Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu leads in the 2024 Panchayat Devolution Index, following by the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Now these three states are from the southern India. So okay, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and then UP and Bihar. These are performers in the report over here. Coming to the next one, low ranking states if you talk about, so Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh and Jharkhand are at the bottom. Okay, so again these are the northeastern states, that is Manipur and the Arunachal Pradesh, and Jharkhand is also there when we talk about the tribal areas. So that is also a poor ranking state when we talk about Panchayat Devolution Index. Overall national score if you talk about, so we have improved over here. So PDI score improved from 39.92 in 2014 to 43.89 2024. That is not a very significant you can say change, because obviously in the 10 years they are talking about, so there is only a 4-point changes which has happened nearly. So that is about it. Now moving further, other insights if you talk about, so women's representation has improved from 45.9% to 46.4% in the last 10 years. If you talk about the SC, ST and the OBC representation, Punjab has the highest OBC representation, Chhattisgarh for the ST representation, and the Bihar for the SC representation. Okay, talking about when we talk about the highest representation, that is somewhere around 39%, 41% and the 36% respectively for the OBC, ST and SCs. Okay, Panchayat funding if we talk about, so this time 4.78 lakh crore has been allocated in 2023-24 when we talk about the last year. Okay, but the fund mismanagement remains an issue. Fund mismanagement remains an issue. Now this is basically a place where, because panchayats don't have their own resources for the funding, or you can say they do not have the revenue generation capabilities as of now. So considering that, they have to rely on the state finance commission and the state funds which are coming to the panchayats. So that is one of the reason for the mismanagement of the funds at the panchayat. Other than that, also efficacy remains an issue over there. Coming to the next one, panchayat density if you talk about, so national average is 4,669 people per panchayat, which is up from 3,087 in 2013-14. West Bengal, Assam and Bihar have the highest densities of people under a particular panchayat. Okay, so that is there. Now let's see the parameters over here. So here parameters has been taken, that like framework, whether the basic provisions mentioned in the constitution are adhered to or not. Okay, so basically when we talk about the constitution is giving you a basic framework under which state have power to make their own laws. Okay, panchayats are basically a state subject. And one more thing over here is that the central government has made a framework, okay, under which you can make your own laws. So that is there. Coming to the next one, function measures how panchayats fulfill the civic responsibilities from the sanitation, waste management to health, education, etc. Coming to the next one, finances, the efficiency in the devolution of the funds to panchayats from the sources. Okay, when we talk about the state, etc., that is there of their funding, whether their own revenue or borrowing or from the state or the central grants. Okay, so own revenue, when we talk about their own revenue, that is very less because they do not have much sources. Okay, but borrowings, state or the central grants are something on which they are relying. Okay, moving further, functionaries, if we talk about, assess the strength and the performance of panchayat officials infrastructure which is available to them, that is their capacity building. If we talk about how the knowledge and the skills of the panchayat officials has been expended to fulfill and the take on more responsibilities, so that is also something. Capacity building and accountability, that is something which you must have studied about in the ethics lectures, the framework in the place to audit and monitor the functionings of the panchayat. So basically there are 4-5 things which are important for your panchayat devolution index. So these are 6 parameters which is there. One is your framework, second is your function, third is your finances, functionaries, capacity building and accountability. So here you can say 4FCA. Okay, 4 F's are basically there when we talk about framework, function, finances and the functionaries, and then capacity building and the accountability. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now what is the significance of this particular report? The study highlights the disparities in the panchayat governance across the states, because we have seen that there are 3 southern states which are at the top, that is Karnataka, then Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and after that UP and Bihar is there. On the same time, when we see Jharkhand is among the poor performers. When we talk about the, you can say, Manipur sector, they are among the poor performers. Okay, so that is there. It stress the need for the better financial management, accountability, capacity building efforts to improve the grassroots governance. Other than that, also we have seen that there is only a nominal improvement which has happened in the last 10 years. Okay, so that is about the panchayat devolution index. Now coming to the next one, that is can ex gratia be paid in cash? Now, why we are talking about this? Recently, there was this incident which has happened because of the crowd management related issues at the Mahakumbh and the issues related to the trains which was there. So at you can say New Delhi railway station, there was a stampede like situation which has happened, and because of which few people lost their lives as well. When we talk about the Kumbh, there also there was some situation which has happened. Now when we talk about ex gratia payments, these are basically voluntarily payments which are there to give it to the victims. Okay, that is not a statutory obligation, this is not a legal obligation. Okay, it's just that it is a voluntary payment which is there. Compensation is different. Compensation is a legal requirement. Okay, if there is something which has happened in the average of you can say compensation to that, you have to pay certain amount, that is compensation. Okay, now when we talk about the ex gratia, these are basically voluntary payments which is there. So let's see what is it. Ex gratia payments are voluntarily gestures made by or made out of the goodwill without legal obligation or admission of the liability. Now they did not admit the guilt, they did not admit the liability, they just made a payment over there. Coming to the next one, compensation on the other hand is basically a legal mandate and tied to the loss or damage. Here you are accepting the liability, then that is how you are paying the compensation, because compensation is a legal phenomena wherein you will say yes, this was our mistake and that is why we are paying you the compensation. And when we talk about ex gratia, these are free of the admission of guilt or admission of the liability. Okay, so that is there. So recently what has happened is that the railways has tried to pay in cash. Okay, can ex gratia be paid in cash? Here is what the rule says. Okay, now that might not be very much important. What is important for us is that what is ex gratia payment. Here you can see a payment made by the organization to an individual for damages or claim without admitting the liability. Without admitting the liability, that is the important aspect. That is there. Coming to the example, if we talk about what can be the example, so let's say disaster relief. Government gives money to the victims over there who are affected by the natural disasters like floods, etc. Even though it is not legally required, government is not required to do so, but they are giving it in the you can say relief packages. Okay, so that is one thing. Employee compensation, if we talk about, a company gives extra money to an employee who got injured at the work, even if the company is not legally responsible. Company is not legally responsible, a company was not at the fault, but out of goodwill they have given some money to that employee, so that is a, you can say, ex gratia payment. Okay, if company is responsible for something like that, and if the issue was because of the company, let's say if there was a fault in the machinery and because of which an employee has been injured over there, in that case they are legally bound bound by the law to give the compensation. That will be a compensation. This is a ex gratia payment because company was not liable to do that. Then coming to the next one, banks, refunds, etc. A bank compensation to a customer for a failed transaction without any legal requirement, that is also ex gratia payment which is there. Okay, so that is the you can say definition of the ex gratia payment. Now let's see what is the issue with respect to the cash payments. Generally ex gratia payments in cash are uncommon but not illegal. You can do so, but it is uncommon. In 2023, communication by the railway board allows cash payment up to 50,000 for immediate relief after the accident, with a larger amount to be transferred digitally. Okay, so immediately if some money is to be given, that is 50,000 rupees, and after that larger amounts will be done digitally or through the, you can say, banks. The recent incident at the New Delhi railway station saw rupees 10 lakh being dispersed in cash after Aadhaar verification, justified as the practical response to the urgency of the situation. They have said that since it was the urgency of the situation, people were there, they needed the help, and that is why they have given or dispersed this 10 lakh rupees in the cash. Okay. Now, what is the government justification over here? Ministry of Railways has argued that the disbursement of the ex gratia isn't unusual, citing the past incidences like the Balasore accident which has happened over there. That was also a train accident. Payment in the cash was practical because many victims' family lacked access to the bank account at that point of time, because various people were coming from different areas for the Mahakumbh, and ultimately they might not have the bank accounts, etc. So that was something about the ex gratia payment. So this term becomes important for you, that can be asked in examination, so you should know about it. Okay, now moving further to the next one, the how HIV self testing can become a game changer in the Mizoram. So when we talk about the Mizoram, only specifically why they are talking about the Mizoram, because Mizoram has the highest prevalence. Okay, highest prevalence of your disease, that is HIV. Okay, now what is the difference between HIV and AIDS? That is, you can say, when we talk about the HIV is basically your infection which is there and which will start to harm the, you can say, immune response of your body, but if not treated at the right time, it will convert into the AIDS. Okay, so let's see. Pune based Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Translational Virology and the AIDS Research, they have actually come up with a report. And Mizoram University, HIV self-testing has helped many young in Mizoram get tested for the first time. The state has the highest prevalence of HIV in the country. So when we talk about the self-testing kits, what are the advantages? So these are basically private, convenient, and the stigma free, because if you go to a hospital and you are going for the HIV test, there are various stigma which is attached to that, in a social structure where we are living in. So considering that, they have come up with the self-testing kit over here. Now here you can see human immunodeficiency virus, that is the HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, attacks the body's immune system. If left untreated, HIV can lead to AIDS, a deadly disease. However, modern and antiretroviral therapy, that is ART, you should know about this ART, that is antiretroviral therapy. Okay, so this is a modern tool which is there. So with that also you can actually go for some kind of treatment over here. Okay, so however, modern antiretroviral therapy regime can help people with the HIV live long and healthy lives, but again that is a deadly disease which is there. The viral is transmitted via contact with the infected body fluid, often through the sexual contact or the contaminated needles. Okay, so that is there. Now if we talk about the HIV burden, so when we talk about India, okay, so that is 25.44 lakh people are having this disease. And when we talk about the Mizoram, Mizoram has the highest prevalence of this particular disease. Now what is HIV self testing kit? Now I'm not going into the details of the numbers over here because that is not important for us. HIV self testing is a process in which individuals collect their blood or saliva samples and themselves interpret the results via taking a test. Okay, so that is your self testing kit. Now let's say what are the key highlights of the report over here. HIV in Mizoram, the state has the highest prevalence in the India with 25,414 people living with the HIV in the state. Study on the HIV self testing conducted by the ICMR, NIV and Mizoram University highlights its potential in increasing the HIV awareness and the testing rates. So that is there. Coming to the next one. Self-testing is a process where individuals collect their own samples such as blood or saliva, conduct a test using the provided kit and interpret the result themselves. Benefit, these are, when we are talking about these benefits, I told you that is a private process, convenient and stigma free way to know HIV status, recognized by WHO and adapted by over 41 countries, can help people who avoid conventional testing due to the social stigma. Okay, so that is the benefit over here. Now, if we talk about the HIV, here you can see HIV attacks the CD4, a type of white blood cells. Okay, so this is a specific, which when we are talking about the disease, you should know that it is attacking the CD4. This is the type of your T cells, that is your white blood cells, which is there in body, which is basically responsible for your immune system. Okay, T cells are those cells that moves around the body, detecting the anomalies and infections in the cell, and then they will alert the other cells over there. After entering body, HIV multiplies itself, destroy the CD4 cell, thus severely damaging the human immune response. Once the virus enters the body, it can never be removed. Okay, so that is one thing. Coming to the next one, CD4 count of a person infected with the HIV reduces. In a healthy body, CD4 count is somewhere around 500 to 1600, but when we are talking about the infected body, it is somewhere around 200. Okay, weak immune system makes a person prone to different infections and the diseases. So because since your immune system is already weak, so other diseases can happen over there, multiple organ failure can happen, cancer can happen, all these things can happen. Then coming to the, it becomes difficult for a person infected with the virus to recover from the even minor injury or the sickness. Okay, so that is about your HIV. Hold on a second. Okay, then moving further, next is how RBI's 10 billion swap can boost the liquidity. So basically here they are talking about the RBI. So what is happening right now is that you know that demand of dollar has been increasing in the economy. Rupee is depreciating, so dollar is getting appreciated, or you can say that value of dollar is increasing, value of rupee is decreasing. Now to fight that, RBI has come up with the 10 billion swap. Okay, what is swap? They will be buying the dollars from the banks. Okay, so what will they do is that RBI will be buying the dollars from the banks. Okay, and they will be giving rupees to the banks. Okay, now what will that do? Because obviously when we talk about the buying the dollar, RBI is buying the dollar for a particular period of time. So what will happen is that the RBI will be having the dollars, RBI will circulate it in the market or in the export market, so that the demand of dollar will reduce. If the demand of dollar will reduce, that means that rupee will start to get strengthened. Okay, so that is the concept behind that. So let's see over here. Reserve Bank of India is using a $10 billion swap to inject liquidity into the financial system. Objective is the RBI aims to stabilize the rupee and bolster foreign exchange reserve. Okay, why? Because if the foreign exchange reserve forex is high, that means that you will be having dollars with you. Okay, so demand can be fulfilled. Coming to the next one, it is designed to address the liquidity issue and reduce the market volatility. Reason for the action: the Indian banking system is facing the worst liquidity crunch over the decade. Factors like the tax outflow, GST payments, currency circulation outflow, etc. have strained the you can say strained the cash flow. Now when we talk about the rupee, there is this liquidity crunch because banks are not having deposit, and if they are not having deposit, they cannot give rupee in the market for the investment, etc., or you can say they cannot give the credit. Okay, so that is there. Why is that they are having lack of rupee? Because most of the money is going into the SIP, etc. People are not going for the deposits. Okay, so that is one reason. Now talking about the dollars, because of the exports, etc., the demand of the dollar is rising. Okay, now at the two front RBI has to play, so that is why they are going for the swap agreement. They will be buying the dollars and they will be sending into the forex, or they will be sending into the export market, so that the demand of dollar will decline. Okay, now bank sells the US dollar to the RBI and agreed to repurchase them at the later at the set price. This will help inject liquidity temporarily and strengthen the rupee. Market impact, if we talk about, so RBI's recent dollars sales is already at around 45 billion across the October to December 2024. This swap aims to prevent sharp volatility in the exchange rate and stabilize the market. Additional measures that they have taken, the open market operations, the repo rate, etc., which we have already seen, the repo rate for the first time has been reduced. Okay, now how it will help the rupee become stronger? So let's see. Bank gives their dollar to the RBI. Now dollars are with the RBI. In return, RBI gives them the Indian rupee. So that is how the liquidity in the market will increase, and banks will be giving the more loan to the you can say sectors like when we talk about the secondary and the tertiary sector, they will be giving loan over there. Now since RBI now has more US dollars, the supply of the dollars in the market will increase because RBI will be sending these dollars to the export market. More supply of the dollars reduces the demand of the dollar, and ultimately the rupees price will increase. Okay, so that is about it. Now moving further, when we talk about this particular article, India to face US pressure to reduce tariffs on agri products in trade deal negotiation. Obviously when we talk about India, India has the high trade tariffs when we talk about the agriculture to protect the domestic agriculture. That is one of the thing, that is one of the reason we did not enter into RCEP, because our agriculture products are actually vulnerable. So that is why to protect the domestic market, we have not gone for the RCEP. Now when we talk about the US products etc., India is putting high tariff on that, so that US products in the agriculture market, they do not enter into India, because they are a mechanized you can say agriculture market. You can say when we talk about the agriculture in USA, that is mechanized, and that is why they are having better production, they are having better productivity. So their product, if they come into the Indian market, they will be cheap and they will occupy the Indian market. So to save that, we are going for the high level of the tariffs over there. Now US plans to introduce reciprocal tariffs. Okay, reciprocal tariffs means if you are having high tariff for us, we will also go for the high tariff. Okay, so that is the definition which is given over here. A reciprocal tariff is a tax or trade restriction that one country places on the other country in response to the similar action taken by that country. Okay, the idea behind the reciprocal tariff is to create a balance in the trade. We are having a trade surplus with USA, so USA will be going for the reciprocal tariff so that they can reduce their, you can say, trade deficit. If one country raised the tariff on the goods from another, the affected country might respond by imposing its own tariff on the imported goods on the first country. This response is meant to protect the local business, preserve jobs, and fix the trade imbalance. Other than that, you don't have to worry about this particular article. You should know what is reciprocal tariff and why is that India is going for high tariffs on the agriculture products which are coming from USA. Okay, so that is about it. Now moving further, for passing reference, there is this event which has happened recently. Our vice president has visited the caves of Ellora. Okay, now considering that these caves becomes important, since they are in the news, you should go for the details study on the Ellora caves, because that is also part of your art and culture. And when we talk about the art and architecture in the ancient India, so that becomes part of that, so you should know about that. Okay, that is there. Coming to the next one, India UK proposed FTA talks set to resume after 8 months. That is, again, they are saying that they will be resuming the trade talks, but when something concrete comes, then we will be talking about that. Okay, now for your own read, there is this article, that is why LNG is central to the future expansion of the India-Qatar trade. We have already talked about the India-Qatar trade, India-Qatar relations, and that we have talked about the LNG as well. So if you have time, you can go through this particular article which we have already discussed. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now in the end, we have the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. Who has the authority to accept or reject the member's resignation in the parliament? Okay, so that is basically the speaker of the Lok Sabha or the chairman or the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. Now for your today's practice, the question is, the Panchayat Devolution Index is developed by which institution? Niti Aayog, Indian Institute of Panchayati Raj, Ministry of Home Affairs, or the Election Commission of India? Now you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. Now here you have to go for the most appropriate answer. Okay, so that is it for today. So with that, I would like to take your leave. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Have a nice day. Thank you.
और अपनी तैयारी आप बढ़िया से कर रहे होंगे। आज के सेशन में हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं, सबसे पहले बात करेंगे मूल कर्तव्य के बारे में। मूल कर्तव्य, मूल कर्तव्य क्या है? मूल कर्तव्य एक तरीके की क्या है, जिम्मेदारी है जो हमें दी गई है ना। क्या है? एक तरीके की जिम्मेदारी है जो हमें दी गई है, क्योंकि भैया हम लोग जिम्मेदारी भी हमको मिलती है, क्योंकि हमें अधिकारी नहीं हर जगह चाहिए, हमें कुछ जिम्मेदारियां भी चाहिए। तो हुआ क्या था कि जब हमारा संविधान बना तो उस दौरान मूल कर्तव्यों के लिए कोई बात थी नहीं, मूल कर्तव्यों के लिए कोई बात नहीं थी। तो जो मूल कर्तव्य हैं ये बेसिकली लाए गए 42 अमेंडमेंट से, संशोधन से 1976 में, 42वें संविधान संशोधन से 1976 में। ठीक, ये मूल संविधान का भाग नहीं थे, ये चीज याद रखिएगा। जो 1950 में संविधान लागू हुआ था, संविधान का भाग नहीं थे, ठीक। इनके लिए कमेटी बनी थी जिसका नाम था स्वर्ण सिंह समिति। स्वर्ण सिंह समिति बनी थी, उस स्वर्ण सिंह समिति के साथ इनको अलाइन किया गया था। स्वर्ण सिंह समिति की अनुशंसाओं पर इनको लागू किया गया था। और ये जो मूल कर्तव्य हैं, इनको हमने रूस से लिया है। उस दौरान इसको यूएसएसआर बोला जाता था, आज रूस बोला जाता है। उनसे हमने इनको लिया है। ये 3-4 चीजें हुई, और इसके अलावा भी कुछ इसमें जरूरी चीजें हैं। जैसे क्या है कि जैसे ये जब लागू हुए थे 1976 में, तो 1976 में इनकी संख्या 10 थी। लेकिन फिर एक संशोधन होता है, 86वां संशोधन। उसके बाद इनकी संख्या हो जाती 11। तो अब जो है वर्तमान में जो मूल कर्तव्य है, उनकी संख्या टोटल है 11, ठीक। जो स्वर्ण सिंह कमेटी बनी थी उसमें लगभग 12 सदस्य थे और स्वर्ण सिंह थे, तो उसके साथ ये जो है लाए गए थे। तो इतनी अगर बेसिक चीजें आप याद रखोगे तो आपका प्रश्न गलत नहीं होगा, यहीं से प्रश्न आपका हो जाएगा। तो एक तो ये चीज आपको याद रखनी है कि जब संविधान 1976 में 10 थे, वर्तमान में एक तरीके से 11 हैं, रूस से लिया गया है। और हाँ, एक चीज, संविधान के भाग 4 का में इनका वर्णन है और अनुच्छेद 51 का में इनका वर्णन है, ठीक। संविधान के भाग 4 में और 51 का में इनका वर्णन किया गया है, ठीक। तो ये सबसे बेसिक चीजें इनकी हमने यहाँ पर आपके साथ साझा करी।